April's been interesting again, and a lot's been happening, and it's just all the finishing touches. So the finishes on the floors have been going in, the final plumbing, all that tiling's finished. So there's a lot of elements that are happening and a lot going on site. And now also what's changing is we have to be really careful on site because these are final finishes. So with the painting and the plastering and everything being finished off, we can't knock walls, we can't put dints in walls and things like that. There's still sequencing issues where we put in the solar this month as well, and we needed specialist equipment to get in around the corner and behind. For access was a real issue because the scaffolding's been pulled down. So there's a lot that's been happening. It's exciting as well, all the control mechanisms for the heating, cooling, hot water, geothermal, all those things have been installed as well. So the next step is then commissioning all the stuff and testing it and make sure it's all working. So one of the systems that is being fitted off at the moment and the controls have gone in is for the geothermal. So at the start you would have seen the infrastructure going in. Now the controls for the system's in, so now we have to actually commission everything. So the geothermal is going to be running the heating and cooling. We also get domestic hot water boosted off it, so we get approximately 50-degree hot water, and then we have an electric element in the hot water tank that bumps it up to the required temperature. The controls for the geothermal heat pump help us control the climate of the house, and also the set points for hot water for the spa or hot tub on the roof.
Great.
One of the big things that happened in April, and it's something that we've been waiting for, and it's been an issue with sequencing, we put the solar panels on the roof deck, but now we've actually got to mount the solar panels on the vertical north side of the building, 10 metres up in the air. So that required specialist equipment. And again, I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. So while we're installing that solar on that north side of the building, we're also installing the sunshades or the fixed louvers. Now, with the fixed louvers aspect of it, we've got fixed louvers in there and not adjustable for the reason that it stops overlooking into the neighbouring property to meet residential code. And then also what it does is it stops the sun actually hitting the glass. So on a hot summer's day, with it facing north, that would actually have an impact on the cooling of the building. So this is an additional thing that I've sort of added in rather than frosting the glass, and that's been through the process. I thought this is a good solution. We're installing those, or we install those, and the solar now, with that access equipment for it, it wasn't a case of just getting a standard knuckle boom or some sort of scissor lift up there. It's on the north side of the building where we've only got about a 1,200 to 1,400 millimetre space, so we can't get a boom or a scissor lift that goes up 10 metres, 11 metres up in the air. So we've needed this knuckle boom that has a double articulation on it, so it's not just a standard boom with the basket on the end. It actually has a second articulation in there and then the basket, so we can get around the back 10 metres up in the air, 8 or 9 metres back, and offset by 45 degrees. So it's really trying to get around a corner, and we are literally getting around a corner. The size of that and also the rotation of the actual base of it has an impact as well which size unit we could use, because we don't have a lot of space either to bring it down the laneway and get it around the corner. So same problems as the crane. We looked at an option for even bringing the crane back in that we use for the construction of the structure to bring it down, but what that'd mean if it was a windy day, that basket would move and the crane, you can't, it's very hard to work out of that. So now all the solar's in as well, so that has to be commissioned now and connected to the grid so we can feed back to the grid. And something coming forward that I might talk about in a few months' time is probably the battery storage that we're looking at on site, and we're trying to balance that with the embodied energy again, with the size of or the capacity of the batteries that we're using to our consumption. So trying to find a balance in that as well. So that's something to look forward to, I think, where we could technically be off the grid. Again, as I said, in April, a lot happened outside and inside. The finishes have been going on in the space. So we have a lot of timber and then exposed timber, the exposed beams, the ceiling, the floors. Now, mainly there's actually only two types of timber in there. There's the ply, and then there's the Victorian ash in there with the glue laminated beams and the structure. The flooring is the exact same timber as well. The window frames are the same timber as well, the Vic ash, and the cabinetry is all ply. So one of my ideas for this was to basically finish them slightly differently and use different stains, so that way there's a differentiation between the floor, the treads on the stairs, the timber benches, and then the actual cabinetry as well, and the ceiling beams. So Timbercare was a company that we worked with, and I worked very closely with, and we used a process where we wire brushed the floors and also the treads on the stairs and also the bench tops. So what we're doing with that wire brushing is it takes off the softer grain, so it leaves a textured finish, and then when you apply the stain and the wax, hard wax coating and seal, it actually penetrates a lot more. So you get this beautiful sort of bespoke finish where it looks like it's recycled timber, but also it's protecting that timber for a longer time because the seals are penetrating through there. The seals that we're using are a product from the country of Wales, not from actual Wales themselves, but it's a company that's been around for 3 or 4 generations, 200 years, and they've been making these hard wax finishes for hardwoods for the longevity of it. So what that means is after we wire brush it in the future to maintain it as well, we don't need to sand anything back. We literally just add another coat on every several years when it requires it. Now we put 2 coats on the floor, 1 coat on the cabinetry, but then 2 coats again on top on the timber bench tops as well, because in the higher wear areas. So that's been fantastic as well, seeing it, and the theory of having different colours and different shades and tones is actually working. So it doesn't look like a beige interior in there either. So I'm quite happy about that. What's been quite a large change on site is we've actually got a bit of life in there as well. So all those plants that were delivered to site last month that I've been keeping alive have been potted and put in narrow long planters that are self-watering pots, so I can water them once a week. So it's reducing the maintenance as well requirements, and they have a reservoir in the bottom, but they're also narrow and long, so I can fit 3 of those in each one of the planter box areas on the west facade. And what that means is we can also harvest all these edible plants as we need to, and as that diminishes, we can put them upstairs where we're not going to be harvesting from, say on the bedroom level or even the deck level, and they can rejuvenate and grow, and then we bring them down to that level so we can circulate those through, and also we can have different plants or multiples of the same plants that we're using high volumes of. But that has also given this softer feel to the space, which has worked really well. A bit of colour as well in there. That's been great. And all the plumbing's been finished off now. All the grouting in the bathrooms and so on have been done. So it's quite an evolution in the space now of refinement, I guess. So walking through it, it feels different and feels we're close to the end. I've got to keep pushing because it's nearly there. So now all that commissioning and so on is going to be tested in the next month. Any issues that we have, we've got to finalise. We've got to do a final blower door test, all those sort of things, what's coming up in the next month.